We're being lied to, we're being manipulated, and we're being deceived. And so today we're going to jump in to ask the question, what happened with the revisions and just how bad were those revisions? And today I have our community expert, Mitch Vexler, here to help us go under the hood to try to figure out what the real problems and what the real solutions are. And I'll tell you guys, I woke up about 6 a.m. I had about 7 emails from Mitch, all geared towards helping American mom and pops survives, this fraud and corruption. So Mitch, I really appreciate you being here, buddy. And before we really dig into these revisions and going under the hood, how are you, sir?
It's been a long day. We get a lot of emails from people that come in, and sometimes in those emails are those golden nuggets of evidence. And then that starts the ball rolling inside of my head. And last night, one of those nuggets showed up, which was a discussion of taxation on unrealized gains. And I, way back in December, before you and I even knew each other, actually put together an amicus brief on that exact topic. And that's what we're going to discuss here today and try and tie all these circumstances together and connect the dots for everybody.
Yeah, certainly some very, very important discussions, very important subjects. So let me start the viewers here. August 21st, you guys can see that here. And this is going to go into the revisions and again, how bad they are. This is titled U.S. Jobs Revised Down by 818,000. And this goes on to say an election year shocker. Second worst revision in history. Back in March, when most of Wall Street and economists still believed the lies being spewed forth by the administration. This gets a little political about labor statistics, which intentionally uses inaccurate, rushed data from the establishment survey, which is meant to pad sentiment and make the economy appear far stronger than it is for, this is saying, propaganda purposes. And so they digged in, to look at the uncooked version of what the Fed published. This first part was interesting. Specifically, we concluded that the BLS had overstated payrolls by 800,000 through December 2023. Furthermore, we also noted that the revision also means that far from the stellar 230,000 average monthly increase in payrolls in 2023, which the White House spun as direct evidence of the benefits of the economy. This uses other choice words, but that means that the true average was much less, not 230. It was actually only 130. So the full monthly change in payrolls, this is that full monthly change again, as reported by BLS. This matters because, as we reminded our followers this weekend, today at 10 a.m., the BLS would publish its annual non-farm payrolls benchmark revision. It confirmed that we were right almost to the dot. Again, they're bragging, Mitch, about how they were right. They knew there was about 800,000. They said 800, so they were, pretty accurate. Here it is right here, 818. Now, I did star. Really what stuck out was construction, signs of construction slowing down. We had actually a decrease in the revisions. Still a lot of construction going on, but I'm saying it is slowing down, so that's very interesting. I circled this here again. How big is the 818,000 revision in context? And they're going to do a chart below, and it's going to show the 2024 revision was the biggest in the past decade and the second biggest on record. So here's the chart right here. Obviously huge, second biggest negative payroll revision on record. The revision confirmed that, as we had been warning for much of the past year, the labor market started moderating much sooner than flawed conventional wisdom thought, so much sooner than the Fed thought. It wasn't until earlier this month that markets and economists grew concerned with the release of the July jobs report. That set off alarm bells with a weak pace of hiring and a fourth month of rising unemployment, but other metrics like jobless claims and vacancies have suggested a more moderate slowdown. So pre-revision here we were revised about a 31.2% reduction, and this goes on and on about the administration and things that need to change, but ultimately it paints a good picture, Mitch, of how, again, I don't want to get political, this is an everyone issue, but it paints a good picture that we really can't trust anything. That there's probably going to be more revisions, that it appears that they're making the economy appear stronger than it is. So Mitch, at this point, we really can't trust anything. And so I want to ask you this question. As of this point, this journey you've had on real estate mindset, all of the videos that we've made, all of the things that we've said so far, and a lot of these warnings actually coming to light, what do you want to bring light to right now?
Well, ask yourself this with regard to that article from Zero Hedge. Why is it that a couple smart people can get in a room and instantly, prior to an announcement, know exactly what the number should be, and the people inside the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is a building full of people, can't get it right? So the idea that there should even be a revision is complete nonsense. You got one job to do: tell the truth. And the only reason you're not is because you're monkeying with the politics and you're creating statistics that have no basis in fact. And therein lies the problem. So the next issue that I wanted to go over, which does tie to this specifically, is the taxation of unrealized gains. And I want to make it clear that what we've been doing on these videos is a nonpartisan issue. And how do we know that? Well, there's 144 million homes in the United States. There are millions of acres of land that are owned by farmers. And all of these people, in reality, as we are now discovering, because we've got signatures from at least 47 states, are being extorted by the CADs who are in charge of adhering to USPAP, Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. Yet they are clearly ignoring USPAP. Their databases are clearly corrupt, and they're increasing values with zero justification in law. So taxation on unrealized capital gains, well, market value is a taxation on an unrealized gain. Market value in the future, market value is an unrealized gain. So that in and of itself is a violation of the 16th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. The danger of any politician stating that they want to tax unrealized gains is a multitude of problems. And I want to break that down in as simple a method as I can. So if you own an RV, just for sake of conversation, and you pay tax on that RV based on a $75,000 value, you would wake up one morning and be demanded to pay a tax based on, say, $125,000 value, because the appraiser or the RPA says that this is the future market value of your RV, and we don't take into account depreciation. So pay us our money or we'll take your RV. Well, let's think that through for a second. If the taxing entity takes the RV, they put it into an auction block and they sell it for $25,000. Your tax bill was $1,300 based on a $75,000 value. What did the taxing entity accomplish? Well, if they put it on the auction block, do you realize that they just got 20x what they would have received in taxes by taking and selling the asset? They took your asset, they sold it, they collected 20 times more money by taking it and putting it on the auction block. The debt load in the country is so great that if all the assets of all the billionaires were taken tomorrow, the cash would be wiped out in less than 20 days. And the debt clock, the US government debt clock, would keep ticking, meaning that those assets that have been taken and the method of taking them is globally destructive. So anybody who makes such a statement that taxation on unrealized gains is good is an economic ignorant and should not be voted for on either side of the aisle. And that's why I said yesterday, votes matter. Any government employee who promotes taxation of unrealized gains is literally arguing against the economic health of their own family, their friends, and their own pocketbook.
Mitch, what's interesting is it appears what happened today was unrealized losses. And, everything is just tied to fraud, and that the fraud has been going on for so long. I mean, we see it in the revisions. I mean, that's, to me, it's clear manipulation. You got, like you said, you got one job to do. It's 2024. I thought we had these AI, what about all the technology? I mean, are you really saying to me that you need this long to revise this data? Are you joking me? Come on, right? I mean, man, this is sad. And I think that what, it's important to understand what Mitch is saying. Unrealized gains and taxes on it it's un-American. It's not allowing us to really own the biggest asset that we assume we assume it's an asset. We assume that we're going to own it. It's our house. I mean, can we even, I want to ask you this question later, and I'll ask, can we even own our houses and what we could do about that? But I want to go under the hood. Okay, we're talking about unemployment. We're warning people, recession, collapse, fraud. The numbers, the data is manipulated. Tighten up, tighten up, tighten up. Be careful who you're listening to. And I want to start, again, going under the hood by something we've been talking a lot about, Mitch, to the viewers, which is a potential bigger problem. Obviously, consumers is super important, but commercial real estate. Mitch, I'm going to read 3 headlines. That's it, just 3 headlines, starting with this right here. Conn's closure. Now, you guys remember, Conn's is about 150 years old. They closed down, hundreds and hundreds of stores. This hit home. This was one of the first places I went to try to reestablish my credit when I lost everything. But Conn's closure, and think about this, leaves behind a swath of empty retail, industrial space in Texas. Their bankruptcy is going to cost us a lot of money. Let's not forget that. They're leaving behind a lot of commercial property. Headline number 2. And look, guys, this is all recent data. This is from August 20th, okay? Developers push to make multifamily projects pencil as competition shrinks. Okay, so there's this whole thing going on, and obviously Mitch is a seasoned developer. He understands conversions, but there's this massive push in conversions, like the government's going to help, maybe it's grants. There's no problem with commercial real estate, extend and pretend. But my article headline number 3, office landlords consider demolitions as conversion challenges mount. August 19th. And to me, this tells a story of what Mitch has been saying. The true cost of some of this commercial property is land minus demo. We're seeing this pencil out. And so my question to you, Mitch, is obviously these commercial companies, these corporations have horrible balance sheets. Their balance sheets are unraveling. And how, again, I'm worried that the consumers, we're going to pay the bill again, right? They're going to be bailed out. But how, as consumers, do we prevent their balance sheets, their debt, these losses that are mounting up in the billions every day? How do we prevent that from corroding onto the balance sheets of homeowners? What do we do about this, Mitch?
Under the current system, you can't, right? Because the federal government is going to go to M1 or M2 money supply, and they're just simply going to print. And when they print, you end up with 2 situations. 1, the US dollar will devalue. 2, you will end up with hyperinflation, and you will have a bifurcated market doing 2 different things, which will just completely whipsaw people's necks because they won't understand what's going on. But at the tail end of the day, those commercial real estate assets that are in the hands of those developers today, as we saw yesterday when they're trying to dump their equity positions, the reality of it is that blank goes downhill. And what you're going to see is it is going to go downhill into the banks. So the developers lose, they hand in the keys, the banks have the assets aren't worth nearly what the debt is. The banks don't have the money to cover that off. Then they go to Daddy, and Daddy at the Federal Reserve says, yeah, okay, we'll figure out how to bail you out. The only problem is the Federal Reserve's balance sheet isn't even big enough to even begin to think about bailing this thing out. So the reality is, and I think where you were going with your question, is how do mom and pop prepare? And the reality is mom and pop should be looking at their own balance sheet, for lack of a better word. So if mom and pop said, okay, we're both working, we have money, we've put some money away in investments, et cetera, et cetera. If you think of yourself as a company that has assets and liabilities, and you start on a piece of paper and say, what are my liabilities? Well, if your liabilities are credit cards that you cannot pay off within a 30-day time frame, then that's a huge liability. That's a huge problem because somewhere you're paying around 20% in interest, 18, whatever it happens to be. But that's a ridiculous amount of money going out the door when you have rent and or a home mortgage. If that money was not going out the door, that could be used to buy down that rent, in terms of payment, find someplace else, but certainly to be able to buy down your mortgage, pay it off faster. And that really, if you put it on an amortization schedule, is a big deal. You can't grow your assets when the real estate taxes take any potential future gains, making the profit on your house impossible. And that's why we've been pounding the table that real estate taxes must be eliminated. It is the only way to shore up the balance sheets of mom and pop. In most cases, mom and pop's assets are the house they live in. And every year, as taxes go up, even though it's in violation of law and U.S. constitutional law and states laws, they keep trying because they haven't been challenged. But the bottom line is they've been succeeding for multiple years now, and now you're seeing the result that mom and pop don't have the money, because we know that 37% of the households, be it multifamily and single family, are in harm's way of going bankrupt and or losing the house that they live in. You don't own the land that's beneath your asset, and you end up paying in perpetuity on what in essence is a land lease that you didn't sign up for, which was created in violation of the US Constitution and the state's constitutions. Owning the land beneath your feet is how to build wealth, which is exactly why the real estate taxes must be eliminated in favor of a sales tax, something that is quantifiable.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said that hit me. Okay, you said, and this is very powerful. I hope the viewers understand why I'm going back a couple steps now. You said something that hit me, Mitch, with commercial real estate. Okay, commercial real estate, trillions of dollars, billions of dollars. You basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, you essentially said that they're too big to bail out. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Where's the money going to come from? The Fed doesn't have the balance sheet. The only thing that they can do is what Yellen was saying the other day. Well, give us more money, give us permission to raise the debt ceiling. Give us more money means turn the printing presses on. If you do that on M1 and M2, you are literally spitting money that isn't worth toilet paper.
Well, Mitch, I mean, here's my concern. I mean, first of all, to the viewers, understand what he's saying. That's how much money they've entangled us all in. They're too big to bail out. But Mitch, I mean, seriously, man, I mean, isn't that exactly what's going to happen? Aren't they going to get bailed out? And this is why I say this, and this is why I ask you, isn't the real victim here the pension holders, people that are retired? Aren't those the people that are going to be needed to be bailed out, Mitch? Won't they?
Yeah,
won't those?
100%. They're on the wrong side of the equation. If you break the economic engine, who's the economic engine? It's mom and pop. It's the businesses mom and pop own, right? That's your economic engine. If you don't take it down to the level where that money needs to go, the hell with the banks. Let them go bankrupt. That's what should have happened in 2008, 2009. Let them go. They caused this mess. There's no law that says the taxpayers are obligated to bail them out. Let them die.
I mean, do you think they will let them die? I mean, I've been asking myself this question for I mean, I don't know how long, but why haven't they let it bust already? They should have let it bust again in 2012. Do you think that they're actually going to let things bust, which is natural? Boom, bust, boom, bust. Do you think they're going to allow that, Mitch?
There are smart people out there that understand that this doesn't have to be a catastrophe. This can be, like I said yesterday, walked in such a manner that it will be rough, but not a catastrophe. There's two different things. And again, that takes the right people being in the right place. And none of this crap about preaching, well, we're going to take money in the form of unrealized gains. That's just the dumbest thing on the planet. And that shows you that they have nothing more than contempt for mom and pop. And to your point on the pension holders, who do you think the pension holders are? It's mom and pop. It's not Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley is just the monkey in the middle who gets paid a 2 and 20 fee. And in reality, they got their fee. So when, you know what, hits the fan, the reality of it is that Morgan Stanley will walk away with money in their pocket, and mom and pop, the pension holders, are going to get screwed. They're going to get screwed on their mortgages. They're going to get screwed on the devaluation of their homes. Because as I said, what do you think is going to happen with 30,000 homes in your community, i.e. Denton, hit the market all at the same time? that's a vortex that just goes straight into the earth. It can't be fixed when that happens, right? Because everybody goes into panic mode. You got banks dropping off, you got office buildings dying on the vine, 4-star hotels dead. It's a very serious problem that takes real people that understand what it is that we're talking about here. And until they're willing to listen, whatever they've got coming to them, they deserve.
Well, I hope there's enough good people that step up, Mitch. Now, speaking of the struggles of the consumer, the fact that mom and pop, I mean, they really can't afford this. Let's look at the bankruptcy statistics now. And this is recent data. A couple things on bankruptcy. Can bankruptcies get higher? 100%. 100% they can. But what I really want people to understand is the trajectory. All categories of bankruptcy, business, personal, all categories of bankruptcy is skyrocketing. And then you want to talk about commercial real estate, foreclosures are skyrocketing. But as far as the most recent data has been updated right now, and as of this goes up to June 30th, 2024, looking at a 12-month period, we're at 553 total bankruptcies. Now, 273,000 of those bankruptcies were Chapter 7 bankruptcies. That's where consumers just walk away from all debt. Generally, right, you can't really have a house. Chapter 11 is business bankruptcies. That's at 376. But take a look at this, guys. This is a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. We're now sitting at 190,829. This is what I refer to as homeowner bankruptcy, because if you're a homeowner, generally, and I'm not giving you advice here, but from what I know, generally you're in lieu of foreclosure. In lieu of foreclosures, a lot of times an option is to file Chapter 13 bankruptcy. So you see that distress. Again, can this get higher? Much higher. But the trajectory of this, it is going up. So these are facts behind the scenes. Main Street's getting wrecked. Mitch, you know, the level of fraud right now, I mean, it's crushing Americans. Can you break down for the viewers, you know, what RICO is? How does RICO come into all of this?
Okay, so RICO is both state and federal law that codifies racketeering. And we have a board member at a CAD. This is a board member at a CAD who will testify that she, even as a board member, was told to go get a second job to pay the taxes. Well, the CAD creates the debt and then demands the payment, and that is the definition of racketeering. And that conforms to all the criteria as established under RICO. This board member is not the only person who's reached out to us under this one issue alone. We have other people with audio being told to go get a second job. And as I've said, the CADs create the values in the case of what's happening in Texas in violation of 2301E, which is in the Texas Property Tax Code, and in violation of USPAP, and in violation of uniform and equal under the Texas Constitution. So they create these debts. These debts aren't real, right? It's fake. It's made up. As Charles Stafford says, you, Mr. Don Spencer, and your team are the masters at guessing. Well, that's the definition of RICO. If I create a debt and I put a gun to your head, and the gun is, I'm going to take your property if you don't pay that debt, that's RICO. And I'm quite certain as we are putting this video together, there's somebody that's actually looking at, they're studying both state and federal RICO laws. And in fact, they've put their sheriff on it already, and the DA is looking at it in this one county. So there are people that are beginning to wake up and smell the coffee. More mom and pops need to get to their DA and say, this is what has happened to me. And to that point, something that just came in literally 40 minutes ago. I'm holding in my hand, and you probably can't see it, but that signature right there, I'm going to read something to you. The guy who signed it, his name is Harold Brown, Chairman, Appraisal Review Board of Johnson County. It is therefore ordered that the motion be denied and the 2024 appraisal roll not be changed. The value of the property remains $589,426. You and I went and looked up some of the neighboring comps, and we came up with $350,000. I want to show this right here. Okay, so I can't quite see it. There's the number, 399,500. It's on the market today for 399,500. Mr. Harold Brown should be put under investigation for criminal liability. This is straight up RICO. It's straight up racketeering. There is no math to back that cat up. And if it's on the property, if the property's on the market for 399,000, we found comparisons. We just did it on our own at 350. How in the hell do you justify $599,000 or $589,000? You can't. You violated Texas property tax code. You violated USPAP. You don't have the evidence to back you up, and you don't give it. And you're stupid enough to put your signature on it. If I was somebody in that particular community, I'd make demand A, for him to quit, and B, I'd be seriously looking at litigation.
Lots to unpack there, Mitch. Lots to unpack there. So, I mean, here's ultimately, you know, what we're saying, what's going on here. I mean, massive revisions, right? We're being misled. I mean, and not only are we being misled, I hope you guys are also realizing unrealized gains. They're trying to tax our futures. I mean, it's already taxed it, but they're trying to tax it even more. And they expect us to work through it. They expect us to stay enslaved in debt and not to worry and to continue to spend. But what we're saying is it's the cracks are there. The writing's on the wall. There's a potential economic depression. I mean, Mitch, I mean, let me ask you this, man. I mean, you know, having said all of that, understanding the game that we're trapped in, how do you enjoy life, man? I mean, what's the solution here? How do you look through this, and how do you find happiness?
I think it's a very difficult situation for an awful lot of people, but the first solution is knowledge. If you know what's happening, then you can stand up and defend yourself as best you can. But to take this crap laying down is the exact opposite of what you should be doing, because if you don't stop, they will bankrupt you. That's the goal here. I mean, that's absolutely clear. And under RICO, just so everyone understands, violations are serious felonies punishable by up to 20 years or more in prison with steep fines, some as high as $1 million. So the idea that it can be prosecuted in the state level, it can be prosecuted on the federal level is important. There's all sorts of laws that they've broken, and there's all sorts of penal codes that, but if you know how to defend yourself in a property value suit and you're successful, then you can take it up to the next level and find some people in your community and say, okay, well, look, we'll join forces and we'll do the same thing. We'll sue these individuals. We will sue the individuals of the ARBs. We will sue the chief appraisers. We'll sue everybody in sight. We'll sue the RPAs for perjury. We'll do what we have to do in order to put a stop to this. And on a larger scale, you know, we've amassed on the website a tremendous amount of evidence. And I've asked people, if there's anything that you see that's wrong, let us know. We'll be the first people to take it down. We'll say we're sorry, but we'll still have 1,100 some odd documents to follow. Nobody has been able to find anything that's wrong. Not under the laws that exist, not under the documentation we've put together. Why? Because most of it's government stats. Most of it is their testimony. It's their videos, it's their audios. They can't find it. So I thought about this last night, and we've had over 800,000 views since we started this video series. And I believe in the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States for freedom of speech. And to that point, I'd like Don Spencer, the chief appraiser for Denton Central Appraisal District, the board of directors, the ARB members, any RPAs, DCAD's attorneys, state comptroller and their attorneys, I'd like to invite them to a debate. And we'll sit down, I'll buy the cappuccinos, we'll offer them the opportunity to have an open dialogue and just talk about it. Whatever's on your mind, you can say, I'm wrong to my face, I'm a big boy, it's okay. And we'll talk about it in front of the public. I'm sure we can find a studio somewhere, something that'll hold several thousand people. I think the public would love to hear what it is that those who are getting paid to take the real estate taxpayers' money, what they have to say, and what their defense is. I think it's reasonable. I'm sincere about it. I want Don Spencer to come and talk. And I'll give you 15 to 1 odds. The 15 of you can get together, you can correlate your answer. That's perfectly fine. It's just me, little old nobody. Oh, he's going to go away. Me, I'm here. You want to have a debate? Let's go. I think it's the right thing to do. Tell the public why you're doing what you're doing. Show the public the math that you're using behind USPAP. And I think, frankly, that should actually be the very first question. What math are you using behind USPAP? Show it. And then it'll be my turn.
Well, I hope you get that turn. And, Mitch, guys, he's got a way with words. So I'm going to break that down, right? So the question was happiness. Okay. And he went and led you. He led you to happiness just then. But I mean, it starts with knowledge, right? But it just starts there because knowledge can be scary, Mitch, right? Like, look at the pyramids in Antarctica. But anyways, I won't go there. I mean, my God, I've kept my mouth shut about so much. Starts with knowledge, pushing for prosecution, right? What's the point of laws if they're not enforcing it? So maybe reaching out, pushing for prosecution, defending yourself if you know you're being taken advantage of. That could start, with the next thing, which is uniting, joining a community, reaching out for help. And then that should breed change, right? That momentum should be change, which will lead to happiness. Is that kind of in a nutshell what you were saying there, Mitch?
Yes, because with knowledge comes clarity. You will know who's taking advantage of you. You will know who's lying to you. You will know why they're lying to you, and then you can make change. That's clarity. And when you understand that, all of a sudden, the sky may be looking like it's coming down, but I've rescued enough companies over the years that that's really not the case, right? The number one goal here is get rid of these property taxes so that you, mom and pop, are in control of your future by owning your house and building your own balance sheet. And that's why what we try to do here today is connect the dots on these issues, because in truth, they are all correlated, right? We're all doing this for one simple reason. That's because these CADs are violating every single law under their charge. They're charged with adhering to the laws, and they have broken every single one without exception.
I mean, Mitch, they've committed crimes against my children, man. I mean, I don't feel good about that, but I mean, I want to know about it. I do want to know about it. I want to create change. I want to prosecute. And again, if you guys want to be a part of that, links in the description, join the petition, look at the evidence, debate Mitch, reach out to him. If you disagree, please. I mean, it's about change. It's not about hiding. It's not about being lazy. And so, Mitch, again, brother, thank you for your time. Thank you for helping me to break down the revisions. Thank you for going under the hood. Thank you for, addressing the real problems and then creating a solution for those that want to do something about it. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of people that don't. That's fine. But for the people that do, find out. Follow those links. Look at the evidence. Mitch, again, appreciate you, brother. To the viewers, if you guys are out there investing in real estate, you guys already know we wish you luck and we hope you win.